Hey, good afternoon. How are you? I believe you're good, so we can start lecture. So let me first of all open up PowerPoint slides that will be useful for us to follow the steps. And we have a problem with power. Okay, now they're good because last week the PC shut down in the meeting, in the recording, so it was a problem. And last week we briefly talked about C#, structure of C#. We talked about syntax, loops, variables, methods, class, interfaces, enums, and we talked differences between C# and Java. And regarding object-oriented programming, we talk about encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction. Encapsulation was a little bit different in C# because there are getters and setters, special terms. But you can use Java style, there's no difference between them. And inheritance, we had extends keyword, but in C# we don't have that one. We have just, how they call it? We have this one. I don't know how to column. We have column in C#. And then regarding polymorphism again, we had we did some type conversation. We talk about method overriding. And we also talk about multiple inheritance using interfaces. And again, for interfaces, we had just comma instead of implements in Java. But the rest is same. And also we talk about abstractions, abstract classes, how to use them. And we said we cannot create an object from them and something like that. Today we'll talk about Unity basics. And we will learn Unity user interfaces like Windows, Scene, Inspector, Console, Assets, and Asset Store, Standard Assets, Import, Export packages. If you already know Unity, you may feel bored in this lecture, but this is for all of you. If you have any question, you can ask me. You can simply just talk and then ask me permission regarding questions. So let's first of all run Unity. You know how to install Unity, right? If you have any difficulties, again, you can come and ask me. You can have Unity Hub plus Unity, but you don't have to have Unity Hub. But let's say you have Unity. I recommend you to use at least 2018. I think we have 2018, 19, and 2020. They have alpha version. It is not released yet. If you have user account, it will be better, but I think I don't have internet connection here. Let me check. Okay, so it will ask you, this is good for store. I don't know if it's correct or not. I hope it is. Okay, there is something missing here. Same. Okay, there's one more. Okay, this time this is working. So you have things here. You have projects and your previous projects, and you can learn if you want to know some basic regarding Unity, basic tutorials, projects, resources, and links. So you can download particle pack, vehicle tools, interactive 3D sample project. This is for virtual reality. And you can have tower defense template project. But I can assure you that these are really hard tutorials. Like the way they are using, the code they are using, it's a little bit hard for beginners. That's why we are not going to follow them. I think after this course you can have a chance to implement them. There are some links. There is a Unity forum. You can connect there and you can learn to code working in 2D, 3D, lighting, rendering, so many advanced topics in game programming. But again, the lecture name is here, is game programming. We are going to focus on more like programming part. Because we cannot create models here in just 3 hours or like 3 months. So anyway, let's just create a new project here. and then this will be game programming week 1 English. We can have so many templates, could be 2D or 3D, and high definition render pipeline, lightweight, and then VR. Again, we are going to focus either 2D or 3D. Let now make it 3D because I want to introduce Unity here. Now it will resolve packages and load some libraries which will be useful for programming. And you may not follow the lecture because the code I'm writing is I already prepared beforehand, so you may not follow at the same time write the code. So I'm going to recording the codes and you can listen them or watch them or make them at home later on. Yani bu kodları burada yazmanız gerekmiyor. Öyle bir şartınız yok. İzleseniz yeterlidir. Yine sorunuz varsa. Bilgisayarınız varsa tabii ki yapmanızda da fayda var. Eliniz alışır. Okay, do you have any question? And think I need to tell you something about the lecture again. Attendance is mandatory, but some of you are working in some other cities, so you cannot come. Therefore, I will allow all of you to take the final exam, but for makeup exam, I will consider your attendance. You understand? And attendance will be 7 weeks, I guess, for final, or maybe 7 weeks is reasonable, right? It's acceptable. What do you think? Or more? Yeah, it's more than acceptable, exactly. So this is our default layout. When you open up Unity, you're going to see this layout. You have this. Yes. Okay, the proje var. Okay, regarding the project, thank you for. Yes, we will have a project, and you know everything about the lecture. Honestly, there will be a project that will, I think, affect 10 points. Let's say passing score is 60 here. If you get 50, that project will help you to pass. So you're going to get 10 points. The project is not, I haven't decided yet, but it will be some kind of combination of our codes. You're going to combine our codes we have written in the lecture, and you try to do something different, adding some more features to your game. I'm going to talk about them. Yes, there's a project, there will be a project. Yani 10 puanlık proje olacak. In the end, you are last year students. I don't want to force you, to push you, because you're already prepared to graduate, right? I don't want to just force you like you are second year or first year students. So anyway, let's just start. So we have this bar menu here, how they call it, menu. We have file, edit assets, game object component. In here we have new scene, open scene. In Unity everything is scene. Like when you make a movie, everything is going to be scene, and you're going to combine the scene, and that will be movie. The game is like that. You will have multiple scenes, like level 1, level 2, level 3. If you already know some games, you play games, there are levels. You finish one level and you jump to the next one, right? Because this is good to make it portable and then make it easy to manage code. So we'll have levels. And we will of course transit between these levels. We have save in order to save your project. If you don't save your project, you're going to lose everything. And we have new project, open project, save, build setting. So build setting is important here because Unity is cross-platform IDE or game engine. Here you have multiple platforms: PC, Mac, Linux, and Android, iOS, tvOS, Xbox, and many more. You can simply add necessary libraries and you can deploy to anywhere you want. You can have APK file, you can have iOS things. But regarding iOS, this is a bit tricky. Even if you have iPhone, you cannot develop any game for iOS. The reason is because you need to have a MacBook. If you create a Unity project using this, it will convert your Unity project to Xcode. And Xcode is another IDE in macOS or Macintosh. So you have to convert it. So I don't recommend you to develop macOS. If you have enough money, you can buy a MacBook, which is really, really expensive. Anyway, you are iOS. If you're an iOS developer, of course, you have to have one. But again, here we are going to develop Android. Android is easier. Or we can have a desktop application. So you have edit here. And then, by the way, in this build setting, you have player settings. In the player settings, you can set some information regarding your application, the name of your company, name of your name, version of your project, icons, something about rendering, and then resolution, presentation, like layout, horizontal, vertical, and then so many things regarding your publishing, your application. Here we have another menu is called edit. In this edit we have some other things, but this is the important part is the preferences here. These preferences you can have so many things, but external tool is for external script editor. If you don't want to use Visual Studio, you can choose another one. There's one more, mono develop. Sorry. You can use different IDs. And you can set up your Android SDK here also, and then some GDK or some other things. And for colors, you can customize your editor. For example, if you want to change this play mode, for example, I want to change the color here. When I run the project, if I want to change the editor here, I can do something like this. For example, it will be darker. This is good because sometimes you save something in play mode. If you save something in play mode, it will never be saved by Unity. So this is just a notification for you so that you are in play mode. Be careful. Yani şöyle bir sıkıntı var. Bazen play moddayken işte objenizin yerini değiştirebiliyorsunuz, bir şeyler yapabiliyorsunuz, büyüklüğünü falan. Play moddan çıktığınız anda kayboluyor bu. Play modda olduğunuzu hatırlatmak için böyle bir özellik var. Tamam. So this could be darker, or you can just make it as is. If you don't want to change it, you can make it like this. Again, white, totally white. This time it will never change. Okay, and then you can change your keys here. We have some dedicated keys for Unity control. For example, WASD to move. You can change them. And here we have project settings and then preferences. We talk about this. Then maybe project settings. There are so many settings here. We don't need them for now. Later on, if you need them, I will visit that area. For example, I can change the input here. So horizontal, vertical, fire, jump. We have so many commands here. And for now, we have snap. I will talk about this later. And assets. If you, let's say you have some assets, like some codes, models, whatever you have in Unity, everything is asset. Asset varlık demek. Any kinds of object you're going to use for your material or whatever you have in Unity is asset, and then you can use them. Could be picture, could be music, model, mesh, whatever you want. You can import a package. If you already made some projects, you can import from one Unity to the other one. You can simply import them, and you can export your package. I'll talk about them later on. And then in the game object, okay, this is the most important part. In this hierarchy, you can create game objects. For example, this is a scene view. You can change your things here. This is your sun, your light source, and that is your camera. And then here, this is game view. I made it mobile, but this is free aspect. This is default one. If I change somehow the camera, for example, I want to move the camera, maybe rotate the camera here or here, you're going to see that camera view is changing. So everything is in this game view, which is the view of this camera. Yani bu game view'da gördüğünüz her şey kameranın gördüğü şeyler aslında. You can simply think about the movies again. There is a scene, And sometimes you have behind the scene videos, right, on YouTube, behind the scene. You can see cameras, costumes, people, a green scene, a green screen, blue screen, something. And this is the scene. You do everything is here. You do everything. You put your assets, you put your program, everything is here. And your game is here. If you run your project, you're going to see everything in this game view. So I can change so many things here. And for example, I want to add a game object. I can say in hierarchy, right click here and then 3D object cube. At that time, it will add a cube. And you see the cube can be seen by camera because it is in the field of view of the camera. It's in the view of the camera. If I move the camera, for example, here, it will not see the cube. And then I can add so many things here. Capsule and then plane. Plane is actually one dimension. If you want to change this view here, you can simply change the axis, view axis. Now we are looking at the top, from the top. And in Unity we have left hand rule for the axis, like this. Like this one. Your thumb finger shows your y axis, and your index finger show your z axis, and z and the minus z. And then your x finger your middle finger shows your x-axis. Okay, left hand rule. We have another like right hand rule, but here we are going to use left hand rule. This is like is a kind of standard in 3D mathematics. So I can change my view from top, from left, from right, back, from right, and then from down. You see this plane is one-sided, which means if you look at here, you're going to see nothing. So this is like two-sided here. If I want to change size of these, like some attributes here, I can simply manipulate this transform component. In Unity, every kind of object has components. It's component-based objects. So having this component, you can modify your object. Actually, we are going to write code in order to manipulate these components. Unity'de bütün game objelerin bileşenleri vardır. In the inspector you can see this component. Burada her bir komponenti kodla değiştirdiğimiz takdirde mesela buradaki objeyi burada yaptığımız gibi real time'da hareket ettirebiliriz. Amacımız bu zaten. Hareket ettirmek, bir yerlere götürmek, işte birilerini öldürtmek falan. Bu şekilde bir şeyler yapacağız. Değil mi? Oyunlarda mütemadiyen yaptığımız şeyler yani. So you can, if you change the X here, you can see that I can move left, right, and then Y, up and down, and then Z, forward and backward here. And I can change them also here, like these arrow keys. I can rotate using this one. You can follow the colors and you can see which axis you're working on. For example, this blue means rotate around z-axis, because z-axis is like this, so rotating around z-axis will be something like this. Rotating around x-axis should be like this, and then y-axis should be something like this. If you, let's say, you're not happy with what you've done, you can simply reset them. Left click here, this symbol in the transform component, and reset them. It will reset all the transform data, like including position, rotation, and the scaling. So you can rotate and you can scale like this. This is uniform scale. It will scale in 3 axes at the same time. And this is scaled by X, Z. And you can right click here, right click, and then drag your mouse. You can change your view here. Like this is really hard to work with. But if I want to just freely navigate around this 3D scene, I should press right click. And you can see the eyes, right? And under the eye, you have buttons. Can you see that? There's something behind this eye. It's a WASD. So if you press WASD, you're going to freely navigate in this 3D scene. So you can go wherever you want. Okay, so you just press right click and then move around. If your scene is complicated scene, you can simply move around. Let's say you get lost, even if you know WASD, you get lost in this scene. If you press F, you're going to focus. You have whatever you have. If I choose this somewhere, go somewhere. If if I press F, I'm going to focus on this plane. This is very nice, again, things in Unity. If you want to use these things, and this is for scaling, another kind of scale, and then this is another gizmo called like all of gizmos. It's including the combination of all of them. You can scale, you can move, you can rotate using one single tool here. And this is, I think, it's lately added in Unity. I think it was 2 years back. Anyway, you have shortcut for them, W, E, R, T, and Y. You can switch between them because everything is easier if you have a keyboard. Q is going to give you hand, so you can just freely move, and W is going to give this gizmo, and then E is going to rotate, and R is for rotation, for scale, and T for another scale, and Y is for this last one. This is good. Let's say I rotate this one. You see I have these, let me fix this also. Take a look at the axis is same as this one, right? Even if I rotate them. You see the axis, Y is up and X is left because I'm looking in front. The axes are same, but I know that these are not axis of this object, which means here I'm using global axis. If I go there, if I change to the local, that will give me the local axis of that cube. Burada arkadaşlar bakın kübün kendi lokal yani yerel ekseni lazım bana. O yüzden buna bu şekilde yaptığımız zaman geçebiliyoruz. The point of this global axis is to help you to move according to this global axis. If I try to move like this, it will be really hard to go up like this. It is really hard. Like I should go here, I should go here, but using global axis I can freely move up and down, even if I rotate my object. This is very useful again. I will talk about this pivot later. Pivot, I don't know how to call it. Maybe pivot is true pronunciation. If you want to just delete them, you see everything you have in the scene are in hierarchy. If I delete this here or here, they will be deleted in your hierarchy. You simply can use delete button in order to delete them. If you see the star here, this means it's unsaved. You have to press Ctrl S. Now you can save your scene. Everything is saved in your scene. When you later on open up your project, you're going to see everything is there. So let's begin with the camera. I'm going to talk about these camera things. So let's go here and 3D plane. And I want to simply scale this and then put it down here. So you see my camera, can see that the camera is here. I want to put the camera a little bit here so I can see this cube and maybe a little bit rotation of the camera. Then, so you see, I can see the camera and these things together. Let me add one more cube, 3D cube here. Then scale it a bit, then move it. So this is the game view. I can put this game view anywhere I want. Let's say I've mistakenly closed this one. Close. I lost it. Let's say, how can I find them? We have window, menu here, go to general, and then game. That will give you the game view. And then the other one is the scene view. And or you can use Control 1. That will give you scene. You can have more than one window, I guess. Window, can I have? I don't know. Scene. No, only one single. I cannot add multiple scene window here. So you understand the idea. I recommend you to go home after the lecture and then just play with Unity. Try to understand, discover Unity, so that you are going to get used to use it. And we talk about this asset store. Asset store is it's a store or marketplace. You can put your things, you can buy something, you can sell something. But most likely, since you are students and we are not using this program as a professional, you can just download something, some free assets. For example, cat model here. I just click it here. Here we have pricing. We don't want to pay for this kind of thing, right, as a student. So here we have free models. And then there's a tiger. You can have some cat, for example, bad angry cat. Let's just download this. Here we have the download button. I hope it's 175. It's huge. Can I stop it? I don't think I can stop it. No, wait, stop it. They didn't put a button for this. Anyway, you can just go here. You can have so many categories: 3D, 2D, add-ons, audio, essentials, templates, tools. Let's say tools, AI, localization, modeling, networking, painting. Most of them, they are paid, but there are some free assets, useful assets. Now it's download and now decrypting your angry cat model. And then it is ready to import. In order to see your things, you have to go your store. What is this? They add a new feature. So this is my cat, right? And then import it if I press. Now bad angry cat. They put them all in bad folder. So say import. And you will have all necessary assets in your assets folder. Here you have bat, you have bat model. I can just simply drag and drop here, then press F. It's very small, by the way. I can have my angry cat model. Okay, this is very angry cat. Okay, this is very simple. We are going to mostly download them because modeling is extremely hard task. You see, when you put something in your scene, it is appear here because again everything is your scene is appear in hierarchy panel here on the left hand side. No, you can burada yapamazsın. Yani Unity bu iş için değil. Bir ara Studio Max artık biraz eskidi. Genelde artık herkes Blender oldu. Neden daha iyi Blender diye soracak olsanız bir kere ücretsiz open source. Ve birçok Activision dahil birçok firma ciddi şekilde bağış yaptı bu sene, son senede özellikle. İnsanlar istiyorlar ya açık kaynak olsun, herkes geliştirsin. 3ds Max'te öğrenci lisans alıyorsun, geliştiriyorsun, öğreniyorsun. Ondan sonra yapacak oluyorsun. Tak satamıyorsun hiçbir yerde. Lisans parası istiyorlar. Ve biraz da hantal. Hatta biri şey demişti bir ara, herhalde 3ds Max yazılımı sadece onu yapan mühendisler tarafından kullanılıyor. Artık ciddi şekilde rağbet görmüyor yani. Blender 2.8 yeni çıktı. Bir sene falan ancak oldu. Çok güçlü. Acayip şekilde güçlü. Tavsiye ederim. Öğrenmek istiyorsanız bu işi onu kullanabilirsiniz. Ve öğrenmesi çok kolay. Hatta ilk çıktığında şey diyorlardı 3ds Max'ler. Bu nedir ya, çocuk programı diye, çocuk yazılımı diye, ama öyle değil işte. Bayağı esnek. Çok değişik. Yani ilk başta önceki sürümlerini kullandım. Ben de amatör olarak kullanıyorum, ilgileniyorum. Hatta bende var burada son hali. Çok karışıktı. Şu anda bayağı düzgün, bayağı iyi oldu. Oldukça kullanışı tavsiye ederim. Modelleme yapabiliyorsunuz. Heykeltıraş, sculpting diyorlar, onu yapabiliyorsunuz. UV açıyor. Animasyon yapıyor. Ya ne yapsın? Bir tek oyun yapmıyor yani. Oyunda zaten Unity ve Unreal Engine yapıyor, gerek yok. Okay, so now you understand how to use them. We have game and scene. The other things we will talk about later. Now let me just talk about a little bit camera. Now this is top view. Here we have the camera component. You see, the camera is a game object actually. It has transform component. So you can change the position, orientation, and then scale. Here we have camera component. If I remove this camera component, somehow like remove component, the game will show nothing. It will say no cameras rendering because I need a camera to show something. So Control Z here, and plus I have audio listener because when I record something like video things, I have to also record the sound environment. I have to just represent them. Otherwise, it will be nothing. So there's an audio listener. It will listen your audio, listen your sound. So we have things here. Culling mask and then layer, they are working together for hiding or showing something in some specific cameras. We'll talk about them later. And then we have skybox. Skybox is simply in order to show you like cloud things around. So if I remove this, or you have some image data, some buildings around, you can use this. If I say solid color, the game will only show me the solid color. You see, nothing. There's no skybox here. If I can change the color if I want to have black screen, but this skybox is much better for now. You can change skybox and you can change this environment here. Then again, we talk about culling mask. Then projection things. In real life, our vision is perspective, which means that something's near to me, it's bigger than something's far than me. For example, if I just use this one, your head is like my finger, but your head is like half of my fingers because you're far, which means you're smaller for me. That is what's happening here. So if it's something as perspective, which means if it's close to your camera, it's big, or otherwise it's small. I can change it. If I make it orthographic, that will be, by the way, let me just reset them again. I want to put the camera here to better see them. Show them here simply. Şöyle yukarıdan bakalım daha iyi olur. Okay, you see, it's orthographic, like a cubic or orthographic. If something is, can I change the color of this plane because I cannot see anything here? Let me change the color of this, and you're going to see later on. Right click here in the assets, this area, and then create material, and I want to call it red. Then that will, in this inspector of this red, I'm going to see this color palette here. I can change it to the red. Now I create my material, which is red color. I need to assign this red color to my object. So it will be red. It's very simple. Later on we will be able to add textures, but for now it's too early. So now I can see better, I think, using this kind of things, and then choose the camera here. And I cannot see what is wrong with this. I know the reason, because the plane is something is here. Make it something like this. Now I believe I can see these things. Now I can see that, right? Because it's out of the view of the camera. I can put one more cube bit here and then a bit far from the camera. The cameras are, these are same for this orthographic camera because it's not perspective. Even if it's further, far away from that one, it will be similar for that object. The reason is because the camera is orthographic. If you have 2.5D game, you need to use orthographic view. 2.5D dedikleri oyunlar vardır ya, tam 3D olmayanlar. Onlar genelde ortografik olarak yapıyorlar. Yani obje ne kadar uzakta olursa olsun hep aynı yerdeymiş gibi görünüyor. You understand idea. Yapıyorlar zaten bu şekilde. Aslında 2D dedikleri oyunlarda yine kameranın ortografik yapılması. 2D diye bir şey yok aslında. Her şey 3D. O 2D yazıyordu ya başta. Onu seçtiğiniz zaman kamera direkt ortografik oluyor. Değişen bir şey yok aslında. Yine 3D. Ama siz 2D zannediyorsunuz. Unity sizi kandırıyor. Okay, so now you have things. You have main camera. If you change this projection size, your field of view will be larger, which means your things or objects will look smaller. Something like this here. Let's make it perspective again. Again, if I change viewport field of view, that larger field of view means smaller objects. Small field of view, large objects. So I want to show you the view here simply. And something like this. So 60 is always better. You can have physical camera. This means it's for professionals, like 8mm focal length, sensor type, sensor size. If you are interested in photography, you may know them, but this is not for amateurs, this is for pros. So we have another thing, it's called clipping plane. Okay, that thing is this conic shape, this one is called frustum in Unity. That frustum is conic, like they call it, and then you can see anything in between that volume. If something's outside of this conic shape, you cannot see them. But I can control this plane, that clipping plane, the large one or the far one and the near one. So if I increase the size, you see, now it will not see anything here. It will only see something behind. This is very useful sometimes if you want to just set them. And for the far, if you just make it close, make a small value, or say 400, it will see near and then far. You can set them in needs, but now this is okay. So let's just reset them again, then everything is just like before. If you are trouble with something, you're in trouble with some methods, things, your settings, you can simply reset them for any kind of component. These are each is this component. There's another component. You can just collapse them. You can open them. Everything is component. You can add more component here if you want. So many things. So viewport rectangle. That is something. Let's say you have a camera in your game. You want to add one more camera. That will be top view camera. What should you do? You should have to. Of course, you have to add one more camera. There's no other way, right? But if I add one more camera, simply right click here and say add camera. That will be say like similar same camera. I say I will call it, go here and change top camera, or you can change name here. If you want to change the icon for the camera, simply you can choose the icon here. That is top camera, and let's in the gizmo you can change this size so you can better see them. This is your main camera and this is your top camera. So you see that my top camera is far away from the other camera. Simply press reset and it will be in the same location. Okay, this is my top camera. I want to look from top view. So go to here and I want to just look from top to down. What should I do? I have to rotate my camera, right? In which axis? Simply in red axis, right? Because red axis like this one, how can I show this? Like this one. If I rotate like this, that will rotate 90 degrees. So I have to rotate this red axis, which is here, x-axis, 90 degree. And 90, now it will look at from top to down. Let's reset this again. Go to top camera again. Now look at the top view and then it here. Then so this is top view. But the problem is that that camera suppressed the other camera. It's like sometimes overridden the previous camera. I only see the view of the top camera. What should I do here? I can change the size or the viewport of the camera. Yani kameranın gösterici, daha doğrusu kameranın görüntüsünü küçük hale getirip ekranın bir tarafına koyabilirim, değil mi? I can change the viewport of the camera and put the corner of our screen. So how can I do that? Simply for the new camera, I can set this viewport 0.5 and look at this game view. And this is my new camera view and that is the old camera. And then if I make it height 0.5, that will make half width and half height camera. So if I move it in the x is 1 means the total, this size is 1. If I make it 0.5, it will move my camera half amount of the screen. And then in y, that will be 0.5 here. So this is x-axis and that is y-axis of the scene. If I put 0.5, it will put it here, and y it will put it here. So this is the origin of my new camera. So if I want to make it even smaller, I can make it 0.3 and 0.3, and you see my new camera is only here. You can move it here gently and then 0.7 here. Now you can see you can have both of view from two different cameras. Okay, this is just example for multiple cameras. So, and this is my main camera. I want to change the camera's view a little bit so I can see that object. So now let me tell you about these things. If you see something like this is 3D view, you can simply press that one. I will show you, sorry for this. Wait. Got lost here. Press F. Then you see this is left view, but it's perspective view. If you press this one again, it will give you perpendicular view. Tam 90 derecelik bakış açısı sağlayacağı için bu sizin işinize yarayabilir. Okay, this is 3 lines means orthographic left view. This one is perspective left view. Perspektif olarak ne kadar yandan bakarsanız bakın görüntü biraz bozularak gelir ya. Ortografik yaptığınız zaman buradaki şey daha düzgün, tam karşıdan bakıyormuş hissi verir. Okay, now let me tell you something about component. I want to put this cube a little bit, but these gizmos are huge. I want to make it smaller. So make it up, and this is my game view. And I don't need this top camera here. If I play my game, there will be nothing, because no interaction at all. And I want to use gravity to fall this object down. What should I do here? In Unity, everything is component, as I told you before. In real life, everything is rigid body. If you just put it here in air and leave it like this, and it will be affected by physics rules. For example, gravity, drag, and what else? I don't know what rule we have here. It belongs to that rule, which means it will affect my gravity. In Unity is actually it's a game engine, which means it must include all the things you need for a game. So it has, this is my cube, I believe. Let's call it this big cube. And then go to here, add component. You have rigid body, and then rigid body will give you that gravity, and then play the game. Now you see it's dropped because it's now has a rigid body. So we have other components in these things. For example, box collider and mesh render. Mesh render is simply displaying your mesh. So whatever you have, it's like it has mesh. Some things means the visible surfaces of your objects. If I disable this one, you will see only green things, the boxes, and this is called collider. Collider means if you want to crash something in 3D or in 2D, you need to have colliders. Otherwise, it will go through the object. It will not stop it. Now I want to just remove this box collider and enable this mesh render. Let's see what's happening. You see, no collision at all. You have need this one. And I can change this collider here simply, like make it smaller or bigger. If I make it something like this, you're going to see that. So I put it somewhere different. What did I do here? Just reset this. I want to just scale this a little bit. So now take a look at. Well, I made a mistake, sorry. I must have something. What happened? What did I do that? I don't know, I mistakenly made it, right? Sorry, I mistakenly made it, yes. And you know Unity, right? You know Unity 3D. Yes, because you see, the mesh is nothing. Only representation. The only important thing is collider. You have to understand collider, otherwise it's things. And reset the collider here. And if I let me just simply change this view and see what's happening. it will roll, I guess, little bit. If I increase these, for example, the mass, like make it 1000 kilo, I think it will roll more, a little bit more, and that's all. If I increase the drag like this, that will not that much roll because there's a drag. Just because of the drag, it didn't roll it. So you can set them according to your need. So you understand the idea. Yer çekimini ayarlayabiliyorsun, ters yönde de yapabiliyorsun. Onu yapmak için şuradan bir yerden ayar vardı. Okay, let me change these rigid body rules. There must be in this edit and project settings, I think. In here, we must have physics. And then if you make it plus 9.1, then see what's going to happen. It should go up. You see, the gravity is inverse. But let me fix this again. You can manipulate your reality. Because this is real gravity like amount, 9.8, right? This is gravity value. So you can change them. That is the idea, you understand things. So let me talk about something different, because this week I don't want to write any code. Maybe I will introduce some of them. But let me first of all talk you about these graphic user interfaces, because we as a user, we need to interact with these games, like start games, maybe register, put your some login data, or change your scene, whatever you need. This is called graphic user interface. We must have them. I want to put them all, this capsule. Let's create an empty object, empty, and put them all in this object, select, and then make the children of that one, and disable this. So you have nothing. Okay, this is very simple. And the good thing about this parenting system, if I want to move them all together, I can move them all of them. So I can group the items, or I can like freely move one of them. This is just one of them, and this is all of them. And that is important, pivot things, and then centering. Pivot means actually it is going to show the position of that object. And if you make it center, it will give you the center of the all group of objects. And this is very important again, this pivot and center things. So I want to disable them so it will not appear in your game. So right click here and go to UI. In this UI, I want to add some, first of all, canvas. And then this canvas is going to give you a kind of rectangle in order to put your user interface elements. And then in this canvas, let's create a panel, UI and panel, that panel. That panel will stretch your entire scene here. This is your scene. In that panel, I can add UI again. I can add button, for example. Press F, that will focus on your button. If you go to game view, you can see the button in the center of this button. If I move this button to top corner, you can see the button is here in the game view. Or I want to simply maybe show them you here. Maybe here, this will be much better. Okay, small bit. Okay, let's just put it here again. Or I can freely put, which is better? That is maybe better, right? You see, if I move them, I can see them in the mean. But if you don't want to make them manually, you can go here for the button, go say stretch, or maybe bottom and right. But you have to, beforehand, you have to reset them. After you're resetting them, it's going to put it center here. Let's go here, say bottom and right. And then make these 0, 0. It will put it there. I will talk them later again. Maybe a bit it up here. And that is X is here. So now your button is here. So I can add more. So let me just reset them again. And then I can set the width of your button, for example, 200, and then height is 50. And then put it there. That is stitching point, sorry, anchoring point or stitching point. You can, this will be the reference point of your rectangle. I will talk about it later again. You can set it also. When you change your size, that will move this button automatically according to that object. This is anchor point. If I want to duplicate this button more, for example, and Control D, this Control D for everything. You can copy everything you need here. If I want to change this background of this button, simply I should go this image component and then change it UI sprite, for example, like that one, or nothing, or UI mask. Or you can create your own. For example, you have your background image here, for example, that one. And then I need to, in order to make something, some picture or image for your UI elements, you have to make it sprite. This is the rule of Unity. So go to the inspector and then make it sprite and then apply. Now I can go to this button and drag and drop here. So not good, but let's make it 500. So you can make your button like this. This will be your button, a new button. I know it's not good design, but just don't worry about this. So for button, we have button script, and you can change the color, normal color, highlight color. And button, this is normal color, and this is press color, and that is maybe highlight color. You see it's changing, a little bit changing. You have fade. If you increase this fade duration, it will be something like this. Make it even bigger. That is increasing, the fading is increasing. Yani bu geçiş var ya, soluklaşma biraz daha yavaş oluyor. And then we can add more. I want to just have a break after that. I know it's boring. Then make it UI. You can have image. This could be for your character icon here. And then you can have another one in this panel UI. So that could be slider. You can have another one UI. That could be input field. In panel, you can have another one. So toggle button. These are, I think you're familiar with some different environments. You are developing web, right? And that you have same. You have images, image boxes, and so other things. UI. You can have scroll view. And you also have event system. Event system is actually using for input, for commands. I will talk about them again later. If you want to change the size of your panel, you have to just make it center and then change the width, for example, 500, and then height it 300 or maybe 500. That will, and this is the view that can be seen by your camera, that rectangle, and this is your panel. For example, that is your panel. You can have something like this. Panel her zaman iyidir. Genelde masa arka plan oluşturmak için kullanılır. So if I go to panel and then change this background, you can see that the background of my panel has been changed. So I can use this for my menu. Simply I can design any kind of menu. Any question?
Since you make it smaller, why the other one?
Why it should go? I didn't do anything. They are just child of them. I didn't change the size of it. I didn't scale it. I only change width and height it. It makes sense normally, as you said, but it's not scaling. This is the dimension. If it would be scaling, like you said, take a look at here. If I press this one and then scale it, you're going to see everything that is scaling. I change only width and height of it. If I want to scale it, I can simply scale and then put it here. This is also a good idea, but it's useless for your game, right? You cannot see them even. Okay, anything, any question here? Let's have a break, maybe 10 minutes. After that, let's talk about some Unity methods, some like awake, start, update, some other things. And this week I'm not going to talk about 3D mathematics. Next week I will introduce like vectors, things, okay? This week is just introduction. See you after break.